Good afternoon and welcome to the First Reviews podcast. Today, I am joined by filmmaker Daniel Masciari, the writer and director of the new feature film Stationed at Home. Daniel, how you doing?
Doing well, Stefano. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining the podcast. Stationed at Home is a black and white story set on Christmas Eve, 1998. The film follows a taxi driver and his strangers who drift in and out of the cab over the course of the evening as he waits for a glimpse of the newly launched International Space Station. Blending gentle humor, melancholy, and cosmic wonder, it's a meditation on loneliness, connection, and the small moments that hold us together. You've described the film as unearthing magic in the mundane. Can you tell us when that idea first appeared to you? Was it a single moment? Was it a character? Was it a place?
Yeah, I love the question. So years ago, I was on a bus from New York City to Ithaca, New York, which is about 4 hours north of New York City. And we stopped in Binghamton, which is where this film is set. And it was a very cold winter night, and I was listening to the song Dusk by Duke Ellington, this beautiful jazz music. And something about looking out at this abandoned building on a train track, this big building with that cold winter weather and listening to this music, it just conjured this idea for the film, this sort of mood of the city of Binghamton as this like blanket for this magical feeling. And then I imagined Ralph, this cab driver, played by Eric Bjarnar, who's fantastic in the film, as this lone cab driver waiting for something. And it dawned on me, maybe it's 1998. It feels like 1998 or like 90s of some time there. And I just imagine him waiting to see the first pass of the International Space Station. And something about that very simple goal and the mood of the city and this loneliness of the city, sort of like a forgotten city, it just really, it just inspired me so much that I had to write the film.
Well, I really appreciate that particular story. I think we are actually in a period where unintentionally you hit the period that of nostalgia that we're in currently as millennials. We're hitting the '90s nostalgia.
Yeah.
So the movie actually fits perfectly. I also love the idea of having that interwoven narrative over the course of the film that's kind of just slowly making its way in our view, in our mind, kind of telling us over the course of the film through narration, through television, all these little cool little tidbits that we get.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
I think this podcast I was doing recently was talking about this idea of the mundane as this sort of um, force in the film. And yeah, I always saw the International Space Station as, from a visual standpoint, the most mundane thing you can really see visually. It's just a dot in the sky.
yeah,
And so it always felt to me like that was this sort of, you know, moment that could be a real powerful force because of how simple and almost innocent it looks. And so yeah,
yeah.
talk about whatever you want, regarding that or anything. So
Yeah. The taxi driver spends most of the film in motion, in the car, on the move, but feels in most cases emotionally still. He's isolated even as he carries others through the night. How did you build that tension between movement and solitude?
yeah, so I I think it's just the natural connection of the fact that he is this sort of solitary hermit in a way. And at the same time, he's a cab driver, so he has to meet people, people of all walks of life, various characters, and he's always in movement as a cab driver. So he typically knows where he's going, but in this film, he doesn't know exactly where he's going. And so I think there was this natural tension between his sort of hermit, solitary, quiet vibe and the characters that he meets and takes him on this unexpected journey. So yeah, I'd say it was kind of just a natural outgrowth of the fact that he is a cab driver and his personality is very uh solitary. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's the film is full of people who cross paths with Ralph because of the nature of his job, passengers, strangers. Yet these small encounters feel deeply human. What interested you about exploring connections through these fleeting interactions in the cab?
Love the question. So I was really inspired by the idea of strangers and what is it like to meet strangers that in an area that maybe you're not from or in a location that you're not used to. And so, I mean, I have to say as well, I was really inspired by these actors. So I wrote the parts for, say, 75% of the actors in the film. They were muses of mine. And so, like, the city was the muse of where the film took place, and the city of Binghamton as a character. The characters and the actors playing the characters were muses of mine as I was writing. So
Okay.
so that to me was a huge inspiration for the characters that they play because I just saw them in this world. And so I always thought, okay, what would maybe Daryl Johnson, who plays Harry, what might he be if he didn't become an actor and he went down a certain path, or like what kind of a headspace might he be able to be in? Obviously, it's a character, it's not him, but similar with a bunch of the other actors that the characters that these actors play, I was inspired by them as humans. So that's essentially where a lot of um the ideas came from a writing standpoint.
The International Space Station becomes almost the character of its own in the film. A Someone who our characters haven't met yet and are hoping to cross paths with. At what point during the writing process did you incorporate that story of the ISS as the motif? And was it always a central story?
Yeah, I always thought that this was the goal of Ralph, was to see the first pass of the International Space
Okay.
Station. I always just associated his character with this very simple goal. And and so yeah, and I always had this idea too that without necessarily being super conscious of it, the other characters would sort of feed off of this innocence that Ralph has. This innocent goal, this sort of innocent personality. And although he can get pushed around and, his character is definitely taken advantage of in various parts of the film, but I really wanted that sort of vibe of Ralph to sort of go to the characters, even if they weren't totally aware of it.
Okay.
So I always saw Harry, played by Daryl Johnson, as this ambassador, so to speak, between Ralph and the other guys.
Okay. Did you base any characters on any people that you observed in your life or you cross paths with?
Not exactly. The characters, like I said, were it definitely inspired by a lot of the actors that I wrote the parts for, um but in real life, no, I always saw the actors as um playing people who they came up with, how they moved, how they spoke and things like that. But ultimately the inspiration was um around Ralph's character and how can they kind of push the story along in a way
Okay.
that moves Ralph in a direction he didn't necessarily ask for. So
Okay. You just mentioned that you wrote characters for particular actors. Was that the case for all of your actors, or did you have some that were written then casted?
yeah, I think roughly 75% of the actors I wrote them for. Actually, one of our incredible actors who plays Robin, the bartender, is Jamie Donnelly. She was in the original Grease. She plays Jan, one of the Pink
Oh,
Ladies.
oh wow.
And she was so much fun to work with. I had met her at a film festival where I screened a couple pieces, and she came up to me and she's like, I want to be in your world. And of course, I don't forget that. And then,
Of course.
maybe a year later, I asked her if she wanted to. She was one of the judges, and I asked her if she could be in it, and she said yes. So, and then Misty Monroe, who plays the clerk, she's amazing. She's really doing well these days. She was connected with me through Eliza, who plays Elaine, Eliza Van Court, and just an incredible actor and one of my amazing producers. So it was mostly that I wrote them for people, but some of these other beautiful people were they came in after the script was written.
You've said that the film was made in spirit of 70s and 80s independent film. Which directors or any specific films were touchstones while you were shaping the tone and the pacing of the film?
Yeah, I think, there's so many films that inspired me over the years. But one thing about the 70s and the 80s is it just felt like films were made from more of a personal vision. Films that were um, made because the directors felt they had to make the films. And that to me, that thought of we're making it in the spirit of those sort of came about once we were done with the film because we were trying to reflect on what is it that we just did. And I think um, our film was definitely in that tradition of, hey, we have a film we really believe in. Let's take a risk and let's make it. And, so directors that come to mind are, Antonioni, um, which obviously he made a lot of more independent films. Also, Jim Jarmusch, a lot of directors from that time were even the 90s too. I just saw a film that Steve Buscemi made. Why am I blanking on the name of it? But he directed it and it was so good. So I think our film was kind of in that same vein where we really just wanted to make a film that has a vision that isn't going to be compromised by anything. So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
The film is shot in black and white. What led you to shoot in black and white? Was it aesthetic? Was it thematic, practical, or was it a mix of these different elements?
Yeah, I think our film, I mean, from the initial idea of writing before even writing the film and then writing the film, I always saw it in black and white.
Okay.
I never saw it in color, and I think it's in for a few reasons. One, the textures of the city really come out when it's in black and white, so
Hmm.
visually, it's just a very rich choice. Um, and then also it makes the film feel a lot colder, in my opinion. It kind of pushes into that winter vibe.
Yes, it
And
does.
and Jackson Jarvis, our cinematographer, he's a genius. He was just incredible. And he also, from the second I gave him the script, he always saw it in black and white as well. So there was kind of a synergy there where we just saw the film in black and white and we referenced, old noir films, films that had this sort of, our film isn't insanely contrasty, but we wanted to push into this sort of nostalgic feeling as well.
Yeah. Station at Home has a lot of really beautiful shots in using the black and white. What's the first image or memory that comes to mind when you think of the film?
Wow, I love that question. The first image that comes to mind might be the bridge shot
Okay.
that we
Yeah.
use. I think that shot also was sort of the spiritual location for me and Jackson when we were scouting and also when we were preparing the film itself. It's this little patch near the train tracks, and you just see this arc, this bridge. And so that to me is sort of the sort of source visually of the film. But if you ask me tomorrow or something, I might have a slightly different answer. But that that shot really comes to mind as like the shot of the film.
Yeah. This is your directorial debut. You've been screening it at different film festivals, and now it is coming out on digital for people to watch at home. What has the journey been like for you, going from production and then festivals and now digital download?
Yeah, it's been a remarkable journey. Keep in mind, our film came out of nowhere. It really came out of left field. No big studio behind it, no big names really behind it. Um, it was it was a film we made out of pure passion, and so once we were done with the film and we got into the Glasgow Film Festival, it was totally amazing to be welcomed by that incredible festival on the world stage. It really launched our festival circuit in a way that was really, really magical. So to be able to say now we're being distributed across North America and anyone in North America can watch it, you know, either digitally, cable, satellite, or DVD on November 11th, is truly a dream come true. So I can only say that this has been an incredible ride.
Yeah, and it's coming out just in time for the Christmas season, which is perfect.
Yep.
Uh, so anyone watching this interview, check it out. It's coming up this week, November 11th. Download it, share with your friends. It will be a amazing Christmas film to watch with your family and loved ones.
Thank you. And
Daniel, this has
maybe
been
rate
great.
it on Rotten Tomatoes as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rated on Rotten Tomatoes on
Yes.
anything. Google. Yeah. Just spread the word. It's a really great film. Daniel, thank you so much. This has been great. It's been lovely talking to you.
Molto grazie.